Hey guys, this is your host Thomas Tyree here from On the Hot Podcast. Today, this will be the Combat Series episode number 98 for you guys today. And to kick off this week's Combat Series, I'll be sharing my fight prediction for this weekend's fight taking place in the sport of boxing between Canelo Alvarez and William Scull. So this weekend in the sport of boxing, it will be a undisputed super middleweight fight between Canelo Alvarez and William Scull. Canelo Alvarez will be making his return to the sport of boxing for Cinco de Mayo weekend. That will be taking place this weekend in the super middleweight division. Now, before we get into my fight breakdown, I'll be sharing the following storylines that I have for this fight coming up this Saturday in the world of boxing. So, first storyline is, how will this partnership between Canelo Alvarez and Turki Al-Sheikh work out? Now, as we know, Canelo signed a massive 4-fight deal with Turki Al-Sheikh a few months ago. And as we know, before this, there was some drama before this 4-fight deal was signed with Turki Al-Sheikh. Canelo Alvarez was in negotiations to fight Jake Paul. All along, Canelo Alvarez used Jake Paul as leverage to get this massive 4-fight deal with Turki Al-Sheikh. And we're talking, this 4-fight deal is around $400 to $500 million. This is massive for Canelo Alvarez. Huge paydays are on the horizon. This is his first fight. This undisputed championship fight for William Scull is the first fight. Second fight, as we know, he will be fighting Terrence Crawford in September. Then he has 2 fights remaining on this 4-fight deal in 2026. We don't know who the opponents are, but I want to see how this partnership works between Canelo Alvarez and Turki Al-Sheikh. So that's something to pay attention to this weekend in the sport of boxing. And next storyline is, can Canelo Alvarez become a 2-time undisputed champion in the super middleweight division? Now, obviously, if you guys follow the sport and follow this super middleweight division, the 168-pound division, that Canelo Alvarez was the undisputed champion, and he never got defeated at this division to lose his titles, or one of his titles, that being the IBF title. Canelo Alvarez was forced to vacate the IBF title because he did not fight his mandatory William Scull when he was putting together his fight for Mexican Independence Weekend in September last year, when he decided to fight Edgar Berlanga instead of William Scull. So that's the reason why Canelo Alvarez is taking this fight in the first place against William Scull. And this is the reason why, is because Canelo is chasing that IBF title, become a 2-time undisputed champion in this weight class for a title he never lost. Mind you, that Canelo Alvarez was the first ever undisputed champion that the super middleweight division has even seen. So this is the reason why he's fighting William Scull this weekend. And final storyline is, can William Scull deliver a big win, his biggest win of his boxing career, on a big-time stage? Now, I'm going to be completely honest. William Scull, a lot of people in the boxing community has never heard of William Scull. But for someone that pays attention to the sport like me and will watch anything when it comes to the sport of boxing, William Scull is honestly a B- fighter. A B- fighter, and he's never fought anybody to the level of this competition that he's getting in the ring with Canelo Alvarez. And he is the IBF champion. He did win that vacant title a few months ago. So he did win the title the right way. However, Canelo Alvarez never losing this title is the only reason why William Scull is getting this fight, because he elected to even vacate the title in order to give Edgar Berlanga a big fight in September last year. So we're going to see if William Scull is ready for the big-time moment. And can he score one of the biggest upsets in boxing history, in my opinion, if he were to defeat Canelo Alvarez. But enough with the storylines. Let's get into the tail of the tape here. William Scull. William Scull is 23-0, 23 victories, 0 losses to his resume. Has 9 victories come away of knockout. Currently the reigning defending IBF champion. Stands at 5'11" with a reach of 73 inches. Then I'm looking at Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez has 62 wins, 2 losses, 2 draws to his resume. He has a total of 39 victories come away of knockout. Currently the reigning defending unified champion, holding the WBC, WBO, and WBA world titles at the super middleweight division. A top 5 pound-for-pound fighter in the sport of boxing, one of the greatest of all time. Stands at 5'7" with a reach of 70 inches. So the height and the reach goes in favor of William Scull. We're going to see if he can use the height and the reach to his favor for this fight. But these are the following game plans I have for these respective fighters to follow. They want to walk out of the kingdom of Saudi Arabia with the undisputed super middleweight title. Starting off with William Scull. William Scull is going to have to lead off with a jab. Now, William Scull likes the footage that I've seen from him, and when I've watched a couple of his fights, He likes to walk his opponents bring the fight coming forward, being the aggressive fighter, setting the tone and the tempo of the fight with him being in control. And he likes to walk his opponents down, leaving with the jab. So I think he's going to have to do that against an aggressive fighter like Canelo Alvarez. Game plan number 2. He's going to have to bring his set of cojones to that boxing ring and not be afraid to fight on the inside, because what I've seen in the tape is he can fight on the inside. He can use his 1-2 combinations and mix in an uppercut to his advantage to keep his opponents off of him and to establish the power. Even though he doesn't have knockout power, like I just said, he has 9 victories from way of knockout, he does have some type of power to keep his opponents off him, or for his opponents to respect what he brings to the table in the boxing ring. So if he could do that and make Canelo Alvarez respect him, he could be on his way to winning this fight by points. And last but not least, he has to be alert defensively. What I mean by that is William Scull has to be alert defensively, because if he's not alert defensively, all it takes is one punch from Canelo Alvarez, who is a dangerous fighter to this day, this late in his career. Even though he's only in his early 30s, this man has a lot of mileage on his boxing career. Like I just said, over 60 pro fights is insane. So if he's not alert defensively, Canelo Alvarez can still hit. And sometimes when you're watching the fight live at home, with the surround sound TV volume up, it sounds like Canelo Alvarez, when he's hammering down these punches, they sound like gunshots when you watch him on the television screen. So I've also seen William Scull defensively stick his neck out. I know he has that kind of weird frame to him. He's not the tallest guy in the world. He's like my height, but he has that type of, I don't know how to describe it to you guys, but if you guys watch him fight, he kind of leans with his neck like a dinosaur, and like a T-Rex, and sometimes he can leave his neck out, and that could be a problem defensively. And that could lead to Canelo Alvarez landing a powerful shot that could send him to the canvas and score a knockdown, or they could put the lights out for William Scull. So William Scull has to be alert defensively, protect himself at all times, like the referees tell each fighter in between fights or before each fight begins, and like he does in the dressing room. These are the following game plans that I have for William Scull to follow if he wants to defeat Canelo Alvarez. Now, starting off with Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez is going to have to cut off the ring and establish his power. Now, when Canelo Alvarez can cut the ring off and walk his opponents down, what I mean by cut the ring off for the guys and gals that don't know what I'm talking about, if you cut the ring off and make your opponent only fight on one side of the ring, like Canelo Alvarez likes to do, when he walks his opponents down, put them in that corner like they're in timeout, that's when Canelo Alvarez is the most dangerous in that boxing ring. And when I've seen previous opponents that Canelo Alvarez got in the ring with, like Edgar Berlanga, Jaime Mugina, Jermell Charlo, I've seen all of them, once Canelo Alvarez established the power, they're not in the fight at that point. They're in the fight to survive 12 rounds for survival mode. So if that happens, and Canelo Alvarez cuts the ring off and establishes power, William Scull is only going to be there for survival. And that's not how you become an undisputed champion, by trying to survive for 12 rounds. So I think Canelo Alvarez should do that in his favor. Next, fight on the inside. Canelo Alvarez, like I just said, when he walks opponents down, he's dangerous. But when he's fighting on the inside, fighting in the pocket, that's when Canelo Alvarez loves it. He can eat punch. He has one of the strongest chins in boxing history. I mean, still to this day, he's never been knocked down in his career. He's been in the ring with some all-time greats, and has taken some dangerous shots. And when I think about that, I think of the trilogy fights that he had with Triple G. How Triple G, I'm still astonished to this day that Canelo Alvarez never got knocked down once, or even Triple G got knocked down in their trilogies. And he has a chin, so he's willing to take punishment in order to dish out punishment. So if Canelo Alvarez can fight inside, and what Canelo does really good as well is pin his opponents on the ropes. So when he has his opponents pinned on the ropes, it's like basically target practice, like he's in sparring. And that's when he can start landing the left hook, the 1-2 combinations, the uppercut, or go downstairs of the body to slow you down offensively. So I think Canelo Alvarez should do that. And last but not least, win the counter-punching battle. Canelo Alvarez is one of the best counter-punchers that I've ever seen in boxing history. William Scull has a bit of issues defensively, like I just said. At times can leave his neck out, or when he's throwing a punch, can leave his whole entire face and chin up in the air, which can lead to problems if you're fighting a dangerous, powerful puncher like Canelo Alvarez. So I think when the time is right, Canelo Alvarez should time his punches correctly, win the counter-punching battle, and that could lead to a knockdown or a knockout. So those are the following game plans that I have for these respective fighters to follow. With that being said, I'm going to go with Canelo Alvarez to defeat William Scull by knockout to become a two-time undisputed middleweight champion in the sport of boxing. I think Canelo Alvarez is going to win that IBF title that he never lost. Remember, Canelo Alvarez, like I just said a few moments ago, vacated the IBF title in order to fight Edgar Berlanga last year for Mexican Independence Weekend last September. So Canelo Alvarez is going to be too much for William Scull to handle. Again, I do believe that William Scull is a B- fighter. A lot of people haven't heard of him, but someone that follows the sport like me knows that Canelo's only giving him this fight to become a two-time undisputed champion. But Canelo, he's going to cut the ring off. He's going to fight well on the inside. He's going to establish his power. He's going to land the 1-2 combinations, let the hands fly, fighting in the inside. That will lead to Canelo Alvarez pitting William Scull on the ropes like it's target practice, like it's a sparring fight. He's got to land the left hook, work to the body to slow William Scull down offensively. And I think William Scull is going to be out of there within 6 to 8 rounds. And I know Canelo Alvarez has not scored a knockout victory since 2021. The last opponent that he's knocked out was Caleb Plant. But I think Canelo Alvarez is here to send a message to who he's going to fight in September, that being Terrence Bud Crawford. Send a message to him showing that you're too small to come up to 168, with Terrence Crawford climbing up 2 weight classes for that fight in September. But nonetheless, Canelo Alvarez is going to make light work of William Scull, get him out of there within 6 to 8 rounds, and become the two-time undisputed super middleweight champion. But that is my fight prediction for this weekend's fight between Canelo Alvarez and William Scull.